Alright, so starting to work on the electric double oven I purchased to make into a powder coat oven. As you can see, taking off both doors. It was fairly simple. The hinges are secured in with just a couple screws on the side here. There's one here, there's one up here, and then the spring and mechanism all come out as one assembly. They just slide right out. The doors, believe it or not, literally slid right up off the hinges. There are 0 screws holding in the hinges. 0 screws. So that's the bottom door, that's the top door. So what I did next was I ended up taking off, this is the lamp or the light for the bottom. This is the temperature, no, that's the vent. In the back is the temperature probe, was right in there. That's where one of the elements was. That's where the lower element was. And now it's just shimmying out. And what I'll do is I'm gonna end up cutting the top here. I'll plasma cut with a straight edge here and across the back. And then I will have to do the same thing inside there. So I still have a bunch more to take apart. I'm even debating on whether or not I'm gonna have to separate the top and the bottom ovens in order to get in there and get good clean cuts. But that's where we're at so far. So as you can see, I already took out the bottom oven insert. It's just a few screws, a few little hex head screws as well. So I'm working on the top one now. So took off these 3 screws. You need to take this element out. So the element's held up by a few screws here, 2 here. I'll unplug the wires from the back, get it out, take the light off, the little vent hole here, and then literally this will just slide right on out. I've already sprayed it with some oven cleaner because it's pretty nasty in there. And I'll take it outside and I'll clean it one more time. And then I'll be cutting the bottom of this one off here, and then the top of the bottom one off. And then I'm going to be cutting this section here, and then this section here. And what will happen is when I slide these back in, screw them back in, I will use sheet metal to bridge the gap here and here, also in the back. And then in the front, when I put the doors on, I'm gonna also have to bridge the gap with some sheet metal for this section right here between the doors. So let's just get this out, all right? All right, got all the screws out, got the heating element for the top out, the bottom one's out, 2 retaining screws in the back here, and then just a few at the top. And just gotta try to wiggle it out. Give a couple tabs to try to hold them in as well. Ah, there we go. Oh, she's coming. But surely. The bottom one was the same way, and then when you get to the end, there's a little, there are little tabs to kind of hold them in from sliding all the way out. You just gotta press in on the side a little bit. sure that clears the tab. There we go. Try to get them both at the same time. Pop loose. This one's popped back. There we go. There we go. And out she comes. What you see inside is you've got all of your fireproofing insulation in here, fire retardant. So we want to keep that intact. And here are the wires for the bottom and the top elements, which the bottom one, what I'm going to do is once we cut this and this, I'm going to relocate one of the elements on this side in the middle, and then the top element of this one on this side. So we'll still have a top and bottom, and then we'll have two sides. So when I turn them both on to 400 degrees, we shouldn't have any problems with having a good even temperature the whole way inside the powder coat oven. So I'm going to take this one outside and give it one more spray with the Easy Off and clean it up. And while those are soaking with the Easy Off, I'm going to come in here and pull this material out and look and see, make sure I don't have any wires underneath. And then I'm going to look at where I'm going to make my cuts. So I was going to use the plasma cutter, but I don't know if it's coating on here. I tried to even grind some off to get a good ground. It just doesn't seem to be working. It's going to be the old cutoff wheel. The cutoff wheel never seems to let me down, man. It's a beautiful cut right along that ridge that I wanted. I'll flip it, we'll do the other two sides, and it'll be done. All right, there you have it. I've got the bottom of the top oven cut off. Let's go ahead and grab the other one and do the same. So I got kind of lucky. The bottom of the top oven, this panel just 3 screws on either side, 4 across the back, and bam, it came out. So one less thing to have to cut out. We still have to cut out this small little section here and a little section here, and then I'll be able to cut out the top portion of the bottom oven, and we'll be ready to start putting the tubs back in after they get cut. All right, well, plasma cutter works just fine on the inside. I had to have been the non-stick coating on the oven inserts that was fouling up the ground or whatnot on the plasma cutter. So I was able to do the sheet metal on the inside. So I've got that all cut out. This one and the bottom one. You can see here I've got the bottom one kind of set in there. And they'll sit something like, there we go. Something like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'll have to nip off a little bit here to here, but then same with up top here, I'll take the angle grinder and nip these off flush. And what I'll do is I'll take sheet metal and bridge the gap between the upper and the lower here, here, and here. I plan on just using self-tapping screws, zip them in. Of course, I'm going to put all of the fire retardant fiberglass back in, and I'll make sure that I cut holes for the element wires coming through, because like I said, the bottom one of the top one and the top of the bottom, I plan on putting one here and one here. That way we've got top, bottom on both sides, so that will get nice even heat when we put a part in there. The other thing I'm going to do is when I put the top one back in, I'm going to drill 3 holes across the top so that I can put some substantial hangers in there. I'm gonna put some hooks so I can hang parts on. And what I'll do is I'm going to put in, I've got a 1/4 inch steel, well, actually I have a piece here, 1/4 inch steel that I'm going to cut and use as a reinforcement so that it's not just the sheet metal of the oven insert holding those hooks, because if I want to hang a wheel, I don't know how long that little sheet metal will hold before it pulls through. So I'm going to do that to make sure that I have 3 nice placed hooks so I can hang maybe a bunch of smaller parts. And then what I'm going to do is, with the racks being able to still fit in, I plan on, if I'm doing a bunch of smaller parts, like say upper and lower control arms, I can do all 4 pieces, because I can put 2 up here and then run a rack here, run wires off and do 2 down here. So that'll be what's nice about still having the racks, is that you'll be able to hang things off of the racks as well. So coming along really quickly. I thought it would take a lot longer. Got a nice pile of scrap sheet metal now. But yeah, it's coming along really nice, and I'm not seeing any issues at this point. The only thing I see is that these sides, seeing that I've cut out and removed, I'm going to reinforce the sides with some sheet metal as well, just to make sure that the top and bottom are not too floppy. But then again, when I put the doors back on, I plan on using that angle steel here to make them 1 door. So it should be pretty rigid. Anyway, I'm gonna stop for the night. I'm sure the wife's gonna wonder where I've been for the last 3 hours. And so I figure I'll go and have dinner, and then probably tomorrow afternoon I'll pick back up, and hopefully we'll have the doors put together as 1 piece, the inserts back in, and the sheet metal done. And the only thing I'll have left to do is kind of put the elements in and wire her up. So almost done. Gonna be a cool powder coat oven. I mean, you can see by how tall I am, it's going to be a nice area inside there to powder coat parts. Not quite long enough for one of the Datsun Roadster bumpers, but pretty close. Pretty close. All right, so finished bridging that gap between the upper and lower with the sheet metal. I cut out down there for I decided that I'd test fit on the sides the upper and the lower elements. Well, they're too wide, so I can only put 1. So I'm going to put 1 here in the middle, 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. So I've got the light back in, got everything set up. The wires are sticking out, and the wires out down there. So the next thing to do is I've got to reinforce this edge here. I've got that 1/4 inch steel. I'm going to reinforce the edge, and then I'll be able to attach the hinges onto the door, which is by far the heaviest thing on this. Then, like I said, I got to pick up a new piece of sheet metal. I'll put sheet metal in the back and then in the front, and bend it so it comes around, and I'll screw into here, and I'll stuff that with the heat-proof insulation or fireproof insulation as well. So the only other thing I have to do is I've got to go run out and pick up casters for it. I'm probably going to build a wood base for it with casters, and I'll screw it into the bottom, and that should make it a little bit more mobile around the shop, so that it's just not stuck in one spot. I can move it around if I need to. So almost done. Hopefully next video will be with me putting the hinges on, and then a little extra fireproof weather stripping on the door frame there to make sure that gap's closed off. But so far so good. All right, so I'm back at it today. Mount up the elements. Upper one's just the same stock position, same stock holes to screw it into. You have to use the top one because it has this old probe here, which is the probe that senses that the oven's up to temperature and won't let it get any hotter. This is the lower oven's sensor for it. Here's the stock lower bottom one, same spot. What I changed was, like I said, I was looking at doing one here and here, but they're so wide, I don't have enough room to put them on the side. So I decided to have just one here at the back. So I have 3 instead of 4, but being that it's a big open space, the heat will be allowed to move around in the space. So I'm thinking with the 3 of them, it should heat up pretty quickly. Shouldn't have any issues. Today, after doing that, I'm going to be putting in the piece of sheet metal here. I'll put the fireproof insulation behind it, and then another piece of sheet metal on the back side of it. And the last thing I'll need to do, really, fabrication wise, is right along this side here. I'm going to put a 1/4 inch steel plate strip. It's about 4 inches wide. And that's going to be my reinforcement, and also going to level it out. You can see where this is a little bit taller than this. That way I can have a good spot to mount the hinges for the door. So almost done. Hoping to finish it up this afternoon. Have a lot of things to do in the shop, so this is something I need to get done quickly. One last thing, I guess I'll probably show it at the end, but on the bottom here, I'm going to put a couple pieces of angle iron, and then to support the bottom, and then I'm going to attach casters to it so I can roll this around the shop, and I won't have to have it just in one spot or kind of scoot it or move it around on one of those little Harbor Freight dollies, which I've been doing, and it's the small one, so it wants to tip off all the time. So that will be done as well. All right, so nothing too fancy, just a piece of sheet metal cut out. I've got it bent in here and bent there, and then tabbed around the corners here and here. So I'm going to put a screw right in the sides there, and then I'll stuff it with the fireproof fiberglass, and then I will do the same thing on the back side and have that boxed in, and then it's time for hinges. All right, you see I've got the fireproof insulation stuffed in there. There's my panel. I'm gonna go ahead and screw that on, and then I think I need to order on Amazon just to make sure I'm safe. I'm gonna put a fireproof weather stripping like this right down both sides, just to make sure it's an even tighter fit so we're not losing any heat. I mean, the ones around here are gonna fit really nice for the top and the sides, but this middle part especially, that middle part in there is not gonna have any. So, well, you know, better err on the side of good judgment there and make sure that it's sealed really well. I don't wanna heat up the shop and not the powder coating oven. So let's put that panel on, and then it's time to put the door back on to the powder coat oven and attach those hinges and see how they work. All right, there's the panel. Oh, man, it's hard to drill into that coated sheet metal, that non-stick coating on that. But that's good, that means it's good, tough stuff. So, like I said, I got it all stuffed with fireproof insulation, so the heat going between these is gonna be very minimal. Now it's time to put it back on the oven and see about getting these things to mount up forever. Put some hinges on it. I will say, I don't know if I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. That door weighs like 4 times what the rest of that weighs. That's just some sheet metal and a little bit of wiring up top. My goodness, that double paned oven glass, high temp glass, man, that stuff's heavy. So if you're working on this by yourself, just be aware that door is going to be heavy. I'm going to say it probably weighs close to 100 pounds by itself. So just keep an eye on it. All right, so I have the door on. I've got 3 industrial sized hinges reinforced with 1/4 inch steel here and the angle iron here. If you look, look at that. She opens beautifully. Got my elements in there. All I need to do is put the casters on and we will be in business. I haven't bought the powder coating gun and whatnot yet, so once I'm done with this video, oh, I still have to get a latch. I'm gonna have to put some kind of catch on the side here. to hold it down. I'm going to put one here and one here. I was actually thinking about using a set of late soft top latches that I have made in 304 stainless and see how those might work. I'm wondering if the receiver would fit on here. It looks like it'd be about the right size. And put the clamp here and close it. So that's a thought. But before I put any clamps on, I've got to get that that gasket, that fireproof gasket. There is that gap the whole way down. Granted, this one, sorry about that, this one is doing a really nice job sealing it at the oven part. But once we get here to the middle, where I had to kind of make that joint to join them, I've got nothing there, see? So if nothing else, I need it there, but I'm gonna put it down both sides just to be on the safe side. And once I have that in, then I'll know how snugly it's going to fit. Then I will go ahead and use the clamps. I will try to use the 68 through 70 Datsun Roadster latches. So looking good. Just I'll order that stuff in from Amazon, and I've got to get some new larger self-tapping screws to put the casters on. The ones I have are just not big enough. They need to be about 2, maybe 3 times that size. Put casters on, and then I'll be able to roll it around. But like I said, feels good to have door that opens all as one. That's pretty neat. All right, so I was just cleaning up and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna make sure this darn thing works. So I wired up the 4 plug, and then there's an adapter that you can use to drop it to a 3 plug, so I can plug it into my 230 outlet that I had put in for my welder and the plasma cutter. And lo and behold, look at this. Hey, look. The light works. And watch, close the door, it shuts off. Look at that. So I'll have light in there. Also, I was blinking, but it looks like everything works. Oh yeah. No. That was a bad sound. I turned it on and it completely clunked, which means I'm going to say the breaker blew. Alright, so I've got the fan going because, well, just blowing with the door shut. You know how that goes, some of the fumes out. But like I said, casters are on and she seems really stable. Doesn't seem like she wants to tip over at all. So I think those are good. Like I said, I can't wait to get the latches to this thing. But anyway, and I think I fixed the issue with the power to the middle element. I put it on, and I know you're thinking, wait a minute, earlier in the video he went and turned it on and it popped, and he said, that doesn't sound good. Well, it popped the breaker. So what I finally figured out was that neither of those wires that go to the element have a ground. So what it uses for a ground is the mounting bracket to the actual oven. So because I have it up and down now instead of horizontal, I went and created a metal bracket, mounting bracket for it, mounted it in there, and guess what? No more popping the breaker, and it works just fine. So I want to show you that. I'm going to plug it in and see if we can get it up to temp real quick. Alright, well you can tell by the light being on, and also the clock blinking, that it is on, plugged in. Close it like this off. Still have that little switch that works does that. Also, I believe you can still turn it on and off with the door shut. So here we go. Let's try the upper oven at 400 because that's what it's going to be when we powder coat. 400 start. Alright, I heard it click. So the upper one is just this one. I didn't use the bottom part of the upper. So let's see how. Use it on there. Alright, it's starting to slowly go up. Let's give it a minute here. Yep, going up, 80, 88, 93, 100, 110, 114, 126. Boy, we're already up to 180 already. So obviously that one's working. Let's shut it off. This was the one giving me trouble, so no popping, no anything now. So let's get it up to 400. That one's going to be this one here, and I can see it's starting to glow red in a couple little spots already. So that's already going up 70, 75. Bottom one, 161, 165. This bottom one seems to get a lot hotter, a lot faster. 156, 162. This one is still in the 80s. This one is in the 170s already, 190. This one finally up over 100, 105, 108. Bottom one, 281, 275. I have this probe right here, and that probe is still for the bottom element so that when the oven reaches the temperature, it'll shut itself off or just monitor it. So, wow, yeah, that bottom one is going red hot already. I never used this oven before. I bought it from someone, so I'm not sure if that bottom element always got that red hot. But it's 315, 320, 346, 345, 350. It's still going. This one is 180 still. So I'm going to have to do a little checking to see if that is normal to have that bottom one so hot. I mean, it's 360s, 370s. Woo. See if I close it and get the temperature, it'll finally start to cool off there, maybe. If we'll give it the temperature, it'll shut itself off. A little light should go. All right, so the last thing I needed to do was put on a set of latches. Got these on. I was going to screw them in and then decided, you know what? I like these latches to latch flush, and the screws were getting in the way, so I welded them on instead. Again, welding's not the prettiest, but it sure does the job. And now you can see, really, you don't see any gap in there. What you have is this here is that fireproof weather stripping that goes along here. It already has fireproof weather stripping here and down at the bottom. So it seals that portion. It was this section right here that I was really most concerned about. So I went ahead and put it all the way down, both sides, inside and outside edges, so that we would have a really good seal. So I wouldn't have to worry about heat escaping and whatnot. So latch one, latch two, and it is tight. It is a very tight seal. Very happy with the project. I am going to go out and tape everything off, and I'm going to roll it outside. I'm going to prime and paint that metal fill section just for aesthetics. It really isn't going to make it operate any better, but I will do a video then of the unit in process. I have a set of Datsun Roadster front brake caliper brackets that I'm going to blast, and then I'm going to go ahead and do them, I think, in a satin black instead, or matte black, whichever you want to call it, to matte black. So it's not going to be a gloss black, it's going to be a matte black. It'll look a lot more like it did originally, but stay tuned for that video. Probably get that in the next day or two.